You're listening to the ADHD and Me podcast. I'm Joe.
And I'm Jen, and we're so excited to share the strategies we've learned while navigating life as neurodivergents.
Each week, we'll discuss topics such as relationships, careers, mental health, and a lot more.
You'll get two unique perspectives on life's challenges, successes, and everything in between.
So without further ado, here's this week's episode. Welcome back to the ADHD and Me podcast. My name's Joe.
And I'm Jen.
And we're excited to have you back for another exciting episode where we're going to be comparing everyday life to a video game. This is going to be a multi-part episode, so you're not going to want to miss each week as we stop wasting our health points on bad strategies and learn how to conquer life's boss battles. So I'm excited to get into it, and I don't want to waste any time because we have a lot to cover. And we want to start with your daily HP, health points. What does that mean, and how does that relate to our lives? So, Jen, what does health points mean to you when you think about your life as a video game?
Yeah, so if you have played a few video games, in that game, your character has a certain amount of health points. And as you go through the game, there's certain things that will dwindle it down, right?
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, you're at like 5 hearts and, you bump into a treasure chest and it hurt. You're down a heart. So that's like an example for those non-gamers out there. So basically for life, everybody has a daily emotional capacity. So for me, that is health points. And I wrote down some things that will help me kind of articulate this because it's a lot of information. But basically, certain things in life can drain you of your HP, even if they are good things. Pay attention to how you feel after you've gone to an event or after you've hung out with a friend. Do you feel worse or do you feel better?
Yeah, and I think everyone can relate to this.
Yeah.
During the holidays. Right? Like that's one easy example of when you feel like you've been nonstop, you're working. Every weekend there's an event, a crazy sweater party.
Yeah,
you got to squeeze in shopping. And that is a really good, I think, general example of, okay, I feel like my HP points are depleting because at the end of the day, all I want to do is sit on the couch and just stare.
Yeah.
For an ADHD person, it's at least from seeing how it affects you, this is something that is not just on Christmas time. It's a weekly occurrence, and you got to watch out and really make sure that you understand how many HP points are being taken.
Yeah. And I didn't even realize what was going on with my own self because obviously, before we were both diagnosed, we had no idea why certain things were affecting us the way that they were. And so I'm thinking to myself, why am I so irritable today? Why am I so fatigued? Why am I, having mood swings right now? And looking back, it's because I depleted my HP. I had no emotional points left, just because I just did back-to-back events, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And then by Monday, I was really drained for my work day. So I put here, as you start to realize your daily capacity, you have extra HP to use on what really matters to you and what fills your cup when you're feeling on E. So it's very important to figure out what is going to deplete your HP. That way you can use those extra points.
Yeah, and before you look at it as HP, you just see two people who are of similar age and have similar jobs, and you see one person who seems to have more HP than the other.
Yeah.
And that could be confusing. So that leads me to the next question, and that what we want to talk about is how do you then find your daily HP? How do you know what that is? How do you know when you're reaching that maximum emotional capacity? So would love to know how you find it from an ADHD perspective.
Yeah. So basically, like I mentioned, if you listen to our previous episode, I had mentioned figuring out your analytics. So basically, what do you do each day and how long does that process take? then figure out how you can make each process of your life easier and more efficient. So you could do a life audit. A lot of different YouTubers use that phrase, life audit. And what they do is they write down everything that has to do with their life, their work life, their home life, their relationships. And they kind of look at it at a bird's eye view and analyze what drained me of energy, what filled my cup, like what certain events weren't great, like just kind of figuring out your own analytics. For me as an ADHD, how I do that is measuring time is one of them. So knowing, oh, you know, if I need to do the laundry, for an ADHD person, they'll think in their head, oh, like it's going to be 1,000 different tasks. But to a non-ADHD person, they're like, just do the laundry. What's the problem? Right? So it's like, it can't be that hard. But their mind, when they hear laundry, they're thinking, okay, I have to grab all of the dirty clothes. Mm-hmm. I've got to put it in the satchel. I got to bring it downstairs. I got to assort them from like whites and, you know, colored jeans or whatever, so they don't dye the other clothes. And then I have to figure out like what's a dryer load, what's a hang dry load, and then just doing that. And then, oh wow, I forgot that it was in the wash. Now I got to rewash it, and then putting it in the dryer, and then finding the drying rack. Oh no, this drying rack is not the right one. Like, these are the thoughts that are coming into an ADHD person's brain when you're like, hey, do you mind doing the laundry this week? It's a lot more. So in order for me to properly set up the right expectations with Joe or you, like on your own, you time yourself. Okay, I'm starting the laundry from point A to point B. You write down what did I do? Okay, step 1, grab the clothes. Just name each step, time it. Okay, I'm finished with everything, and it took me 2 hours, or it took me 3 hours.
And I think from my perspective, who's non-ADHD and who's OCPD and very productivity driven,
yeah,
I don't necessarily need to time myself. What I've learned, and this is only through Jen kind of then doing like a check-in later, is doing a recap of what I've already done, right? Yeah. So like Jen will come to me and she'll see me doing something and she'll be like, what have you already done today? Because Jen can see that my HP is probably dwindling, but yes. I can't.
No.
HP blindness. And then for me to then sit and reflect, okay, I already did this task, that task, that task.
Yeah.
Maybe I can then relax or find or use my HP towards like something that I, you know, personally find interesting or exciting. So it's very interesting, the dynamic between the two of us, because it's, for me, it's like I don't realize how much I'm using.
For sure. Like, I can tell that in his mind, it's never enough. Like in the Greatest Showman song. Uh-huh. I know you want to sing it. But it's never enough, right? In his mind, I'm saying, hey, Joe, like, you know, maybe relax. Maybe watch a tennis match. Maybe watch, you know, he loves Shark Tank. Put on an episode of Shark Tank. Or do something, like go on the Peloton or whatever, right? Because I'm like, this guy does not realize.
Well, you know, like on my days, I'll get like a random day off, right?
Oh my gosh.
Where it's like President's Day or everything. And then
that's when you're most productive.
I'm loving the day off because I'm like, all right, first things first. Drop Harper off to school. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get an oil change for the car. Then I'm going to go to the gym. Then I'm going to go do something at the DMV that I've been putting off. And then, so I'm like trying to stack as much as I can in like one day off. And then I wind up regretting it.
But then he's confused as to why he's short with Harper or short with me or like exhausted or he's got a migraine the next day. And he's like, I don't understand. I was like, because it's never enough.
Yeah. So find your HP limit, because before you can really move any further, you got to understand kind of where you're maxed out. And once you've found your daily HP, which brings us to our next step, which is see what mods you can do to help maximize your HP points. Now, I was not very familiar with mods. In the past, would you know, when I was a teenager,
you'd mod your phone.
You could jailbreak your phone, which is like add all these modifications.
Jailbreaker.
But other than that, mods recently have learned from some of the games you play. So what do you mean by finding your mods for your life?
First of all, I just want to say modding a game is the most life-changing thing I've ever discovered. I really like to play Baldur's Gate 3, and so being able to play over and over and over again, but make the certain things and tweaking it just makes it a more seamless game for me. Now I don't have to like sit there in a big battle. But with mods with your life, basically it's like you're playing the same game as everyone else, but as a neurodivergent, you kind of need to do extra steps in order to meet everyone else at the same level. So I put a list here. I put, for example, making your home neurodivergent friendly. What does that look like, right? So I have charging stations on here. Charging stations were a recent add-on to our home because I had only one charger in my bedroom and I think one laptop charger in my office. And so I found myself taking that one bedroom charger and bringing it around the entire house. And then by the time I went to bed, I didn't have the charger because, of course, I forgot it somewhere around the house. And so I'd wake up with a dead phone because I'm too tired. And so I'm thinking to myself, why don't I have a charging station in every room and just charge all my devices? Like, why?
Well, you would also like go from one room to another and then a device would be dying, but then you forgot where you last put the previous charger, and then you're like, I'm constantly in the state of anxiety looking for another charger, chasing the battery percentage.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I've got, in the morning, I'm like, oh, I've got 5 HP. And then I'm like, oh, I'm running around the whole house looking for a charger, and multiple things are dying. And it's
depleting unnecessary
HP and time, and it's stressful. So, I got a charging station, then scissors, hairbrushes, pens. We only had one scissor. We had maybe 2 pens and one hairbrush. And we're like, oh my gosh, we keep losing these. And we keep like arguing with like Harper, like, where's the hairbrush? I can't believe it's gone. And then it's like, oh, scissors, it's gone again. I can't believe this. But we're like confused, but we shouldn't be confused because of course it's gone. Like, of course it's gone. So let's get a scissor and put a scissor in every single room. Let's get pens for every room and let's get hairbrushes so that if we can't find one, there's always another one in another area, which was actually like a big thing.
This has been something that has frustrated me all the time, is that like all it takes is like 5 minutes of browsing on Amazon and adding it to cart and buying it to save like so much time and headache, but yet like you naturally put it off. Like I've done it the same, where it's just like I'm constantly searching for a certain, for more t-shirts or for more socks or underwear. It's like I'm constantly searching for all this.
Mad.
But it's like, what if I just took the 2 seconds to just buy more of the stuff and be done with it? And it's like, okay, that just saved so much energy.
Yeah. I had a lot of gym leggings, right? Because we were going to the gym together and like I was going to the gym like every single day. And I had a dresser that only had like a few drawers. There's not a lot of drawers. And the leggings took up an entire drawer and a half, right? And I'm like, oh, I have no room for my other clothes. And I would constantly have clothes all over the floor. And he'd be like, why are they on the floor? I'm like, because there's no room in the drawer and I can't put them in the closet. So they're just going to stay in the wardrobe, right? But then I'm thinking to myself, oh, wait, hold on. I could get one of those little closet things where you can roll your leggings and put them in the little compartments. And I bought 2 of those. And now all of my leggings are in there. And I got 2 empty draw spaces. And now our room is very clean. And I'm proud.
Another one here is a smart device in every room. I don't want to say their name because we have smart devices. But,
we do.
Amazon has one. Google has one. Apple has one. But having these smart devices, we use it all the time to keep track of timers for things.
Yeah.
Reminders. We love the intercom abilities to intercom across so that like you're not screaming or you just want to, say that dinner's ready and you can go say that. I mean, I think the timers for you and reminders is probably the big one because if you have one in a lot of rooms, no matter where you set that reminder or timer, if you're in the other room while it goes off, you'll still know.
Yeah. I prefer the Amazon device over my phone reminders because you can be like, hey Siri, remind me, blah, 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 right? But I always have my phone. Oh,
It's all right.
I always have my phone on Do Not Disturb, or I lose my phone. It's always gone. It's somewhere in the abyss. So having the, Amazon device just reminding me of certain tasks that I need to do is a big deal. Like you don't think it's a big deal, but it's a huge help. Like being like, hey, what's the weather like today? Not having to leave the room to find my phone to find out what the weather is. I can just ask the robot, and it turns out I like AI after all.
Yeah, I love the idea of calling these mods because they really are. They're small little modifications that have a big impact.
Huge.
And the next one we just incorporated, right? The entryway launchpad.
Yes, I learned this on YouTube from a popular YouTuber, How to ADHD. Her name's Jessica. And basically, she went to a woman's home who made her home neurodivergent friendly. And she calls it the entryway launchpad, which is like more elaborate than a regular entryway type of setup. So basically, there was everything you could possibly need in order to leave the home in one spot. So if you need an umbrella, there's an umbrella there. The backpacks are already there.
Hats and gloves.
Any type of shoe, like a rain boot.
Keys,
or anything we would need for your child to leave the house. A bag of like the fidget toys, anything that your kids like to have like outside, like noise canceling headphones, everything in just one spot, because she had a great point. So when you work in a restaurant, right? They need to work in the most efficient way possible. So if they need to make coffee, everything that you need to make coffee is in one area, because you need to move around in a high-paced restaurant environment. It makes no sense to have each station not as more convenient as possible. So I feel like us as neurodivergents, like, because we're so like late all the time, we have time blindness, we lose things often, keeping your launch pad like stacked and make sure it has everything, it's less stress.
We've only had it for a little bit, but I found it helpful just now in the wintertime. It's like, I used to never have a place to put my hats and gloves. It would be in a random spot every time, and now I have the beanie and the gloves in one spot, and I just know when I have to go walk the dog, I just go grab it, and it's nice to know that like it is going to be in one area.
Yeah.
There's a lot of others here. I don't know if you want to rifle off. I'm gonna talk through some of these, and then you can comment on ones that are really important to you. Mouthwash dispenser, weighted blankets, fidgets, soft lighting, minimalism, noise canceling headphones, sticker charts and whiteboards, and smartwatch.
Yeah.
So any of those resonate that you wanted to touch on?
Well, those are just ones that I personally enjoy and love that help me in my day-to-day. So especially with like the minimalism, we have been getting rid of as much clutter and stuff as possible. And I can feel a weight lifted off of my shoulders in my bedroom.
And we have a long way to go, too.
We have a long way to go.
It still feels...
But it's much
widely
better.
Different.
And it makes me excited for the future, because I'll be like, oh, well, if I feel this good now, I'm going to feel even better in the future because I have less clutter and less stuff to worry about, which is a huge deal.
So to wrap up mods, these are all just little tweaks. The way I think of it is like most of these things, not all of them, but most of these things can be solved in like $50 or less.
Yeah.
And it's like $50 or less to solve a lifetime worth of stress that rhymes. It's worth it.
You know what I just thought about?
What?
A lot of these mods that I listed off, right? Each of these things would add up to like 5 to 6 minutes, right? So charging stations, me looking around. Scissors and hairbrushes and pens, looking around.
Multiply that every day.
Yeah. Launchpad, because we didn't have one. At that time, every single day, it's just spend time on Amazon and figure out what you can improve or optimize.
Yeah. So got your daily HP count. You figured out your mods. Now let's get into strategy.
Wait, I'm holding a mod.
Yeah, look at that. It's a fidget.
Wait, can I show them?
It's a bow button fidget.
It's okay.
If you're on Spotify watching, take a look at the screen.
If you are in the video, it's like a little soup dumpling. But it's this literally, I found out from Dr. K on Healthy Gamer on YouTube that if you're holding a fidget and you're using it, it helps your concentration. So that's why I have it.
Yeah. So there we go. A mod in action. So let's get into game strategies. So we want to talk about different helpful metaphors and analogies from a few different types of games to help you level up your day-to-day. So we're going to talk about a pretty wide-ranging set of games here, starting with one from Jen's childhood called Crash Team Racing, which, you know, you either know this game or if you don't, it's a Mario Kart ripoff. But why don't you, I know you prepared some words here. Why don't you talk about how the strategy in Crash Team Racing can apply to our lives?
Yes. Well, Crash Bandicoot, Crash Team Racing, if you haven't played it, I highly recommend. It's basically like Mario Kart, but I don't know. I played it. It was my first ever, I think, game that I got on my
PlayStation 1, which you still have.
Which I still have somewhere in this room. If you are familiar with the game, in Crash Team Racing, there are these Wumpa fruits. Wumpa fruits. And when you're driving around, there are little Wumpa fruits on the road, right? So you could ignore them, but if you don't ignore them and you collect the Wumpa fruits, it will boost your speed. And once you've collected 10 of them, they power up the items that you find in the little question mark crates, similar to Mario Kart. So basically, I put here, what is a situation that you've noticed every day that gives you an inconvenience or a daily roadblock? By figuring out how to change those things, it's like collecting Wumpa fruits to level up your daily performance. In Crash Team Racing, you can still drive perfectly fine on the track. You don't need the Wumpa fruits. But what if you could improve to make the race easier?
And I feel like this can apply to a wide-ranging things, but like the one that came, like little things that came to example is, all right, you want to stop ordering Uber Eats or stop going to drive-thrus all the time. Okay. I could spend 10 minutes on Sunday either ordering groceries for pickup, which that's something recently I've done from time to time, which is great.
It's life-changing.
Or you can meal prep if you really love cooking or go to a meal prep service. But like the grocery one is just great. And I don't always remember, but I love like Sunday night as we're all just kind of winding down. If I take 10 to 20 minutes to talk to Jen and our daughter and be like, what are we missing in the house? What do we need? Then on the way home from dropping off our daughter to school, I could just park and they just bring it out to my car. And like that not only has saved me a ton of time, but it's then saved me stress for my weekday. But it could also be like a bigger thing, like sleep, right? Like I need to change my sleep habits because clearly I need to get up. Like say there's something that you don't have the time to do, you may need to get up a half an hour earlier. Like that might be your situation where like, okay, I don't really see room for me to put this in my schedule currently. So the Wumpa fruit solution, like you said, you could ignore, you could sleep.
Yeah, you could still sleep, but why not improve it? And also I just thought of this just now. Traveling in general, just going on flights was a big anxiety-ridden experience for me. It would make me feel overstimulated, stressed. I hated traveling, right? And so we discovered by paying a little bit of more money, we can, what is it called? Clear. And by paying this, I think it's like a yearly subscription.
Yeah, it's a yearly subscription, and you could spend way less time on the TSA.
Yeah, you basically, this is what it does. Like, it scans your fingerprint, scans your eye, and like, once you're in the Clear program, you go to the security line and go into the Clear line, and a agent literally helps you sign in, walks you through, takes your boarding pass, and brings you straight to the security guard, and you skip the entire line. And it's I used to travel a lot by myself, and it was a godsend. It was such a big help. And that, spending a little bit more money gained me not only time, but mental health. Like my health points in general were just traveling, and now I'm not afraid.
These are a lot of good things that can help kind of just level you up. Moving to a more modern game.
His favorite.
Moving to a more modern game, Fortnite, right?
Whoa.
So Fortnite, if you do not know, is called a battle royale game.
What does that mean?
It means 100 people start in a world.
It means 100 people? I didn't know that.
Yeah, 100 people. Well, for this battle royale, it's 100 people start, and you all fight each other, and the last person who keeps their health wins, right? It's really all about HP.
Like the Hunger Games.
If you can't lose all your HP or you're done.
Yeah.
So you wrote down a few Fortnite analogies.
Yeah.
So the first one is, you need a good strategy. And
This is true.
you learn from your mistakes because, and you learn from it quickly because something like this is 100 people. You all drop from a plane. You all have to find a landing spot. Well, some landing spots are more popular than others. Some of them have like little mini bosses that give you better loot or a better weapon. Some spots are right at the edge of the map, but if you land there, then you have to deal with what's called a storm, which is like it's shrinking the map from as the time goes on.
Yeah.
So finding a good strategy and learning from your mistakes quickly is a good first take here, especially learning from your mistakes part, which is like if you're not trying stuff, then you can't improve at all. So it's like,
well, this is a good analogy of like when we played together for the first time. I've never played Fortnite before, and I'm not good at these types of games. But over time, playing with him, he noticed that I'm not great under pressure. So my go-to is high ground
or hide.
I hide and I go into high ground, and then I just go on top of a roof and I have like a sniper. And my strategy was just hide and snipe. That was it. His strategy was let's go into a vehicle and drive off of a cliff.
That was an accident.
He's terrible. But no, he's really good. But in general, we learned after playing a few times together what works for our brains and what doesn't.
Walk us through our next Fortnite analogy.
Okay, so in Fortnite, I love stumbling upon these yellow treasure chests. What is the right term for them?
Loot chests. Because you're looting. You're looking for loot.
Yeah, because you're dropping, and everyone that is dropping down,
nothing.
You drop with nothing. So everyone's on an equal playing field, right? And so they're on a hunt to find a weapon to protect themselves, ammo for their weapons. They're on the hunt for different shield and also these treasure chests, which I love it because like I hear the beep, like the glow. I can't even try to.
It's a shimmering
It's
sound.
a shimmering sound.
Ethereal shimmering sound.
It's very satisfying. I wish I could have like a ringtone of just the shimmering.
It's
treasure chest sound.
very good to ears.
But basically, you stumble upon these, right? So they could be a metaphor for new friends, a new hobby, a new job, new relationship. These are just like good things in your life that you just aren't in search of, but they just happen upon you. And I put in the chest, there are boosts to help. So shield, weapons, and ammo, like we mentioned. And so for shield specifically, it can be in real life. So what does shield do in the game?
So in the game, like you start with 100 HP, and if you get shield, you can boost yourself to 200 HP. So it takes more damage to eliminate you from the game.
Yeah. So it just
so you're doubling your HP.
It better protects you, right?
Yep.
So I compared shield with mental health checks, therapy, personal awareness, good relationships and good friendships, journaling, passions and hobbies that fill your cup. Spiritual shield. So if you're a spiritual person, example like prayer and spending time with God, or whatever religion you're in, physical health, eating right, physical activity, and good sleep habits. So these are just a lot of examples that you can use as your shield in life, and it raises your HP. That way, when the bad things happen or things that you just didn't plan for occur, it's not as detrimental on you because you've shielded up.
But going back to what you said about looking for the treasure chests that have all of this, right? It starts with you, and it starts with you actually seeking out and wanting to do this. So it's like it starts with you saying, okay, my life is at whatever point it is right now, but if I wanted to take it to the next level, if I wanted to add that extra HP, what would I do? So let's dig a little deep into some of these shields that you would find.
Yeah.
Like journaling, right? So like maybe it would really help you to brain dump at the end of the day so that when you spend time with your family, you're not thinking of the 100 items that you've kind of carried along throughout the day. Passions and hobbies. So this was funny because I listened back to our first episode where we're like, what are some hobbies and
No, we
passions?
missed a few.
And I'm just like, I do some crossword puzzles like an old man. But I'm like, Jen, how did I not talk about fitness and nutrition? Like, that's something that in
It's a
the
big
last 2
hobby.
years that I've loved doing. I'm like, how did I not talk about drumming? So like,
He's a great drummer.
I drum often. I drum in our church pretty much like every other week. But like some of those things you don't realize actually like add as a benefit to your overall life, right? To your overall well-being. Because if you're not like seeking out a lot of these shields or additions, then you're kind of going through your work week. You're going through the motions of the weekend, and then you kind of just feel like you're getting into this, I don't know, this kind of stagnant state. So
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, Groundhog Day.
Yeah, but you could also, like, with journaling, if, like I mentioned, Spiritual Shield, you can pair your journaling time with, like, devotional time or prayer time, like, whatever it is that you can, like, look at all the things that are good in your life and then optimizing it. So, like, pairing them. So, for me, I think that going on the Peloton is boring, right? I'm just like, I'm not a big fan of just like sitting on a stagnant bike. He loves it, right? But for me, I'm like, okay, what if I paired it with reading a self-help book or reading a book that I enjoy? So it's like taking all the different shields and combining them for like a combo shield is kind of convenient because not only am I on the bike anyway, I'm finishing up something else that fills my cup. So my body is being taken care of and my mind.
But if you're not looking for these shields, I want you to read what you wrote.
I'm really proud of myself. Did you know I was a smart?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I was aware.
So basically, what I put was, but instead of shields in real life, some of us are just buying battle passes. Can you explain what battle passes are?
Yeah, so we're still in the Fortnite analogy here. So
Yeah.
battle passes are this way that like every, 3 or 4 months, you buy a battle pass. And what that really means is the more you play the game, the more you get cosmetic and appearance upgrades. These cosmetic and appearance upgrades do not help you be a better player or help you win. They're purely just for like you want to look cool. You want to be able to brag that you got these because they're for a limited time only. They may never come back in the store.
Get
So
more clout.
that's what a battle pass is.
Yeah. So now that you know what the battle passes are, so we're just buying battle passes, right? We're spending our energy on things that are purely cosmetic, things that provide no value other than to show off that you have a certain skin. There is no substance to your battle pass. You are showing others that you have it all together, that you have all this success, or just focusing on your social media image. But in reality, you're just an empty NPC with a really nice Peter Griffin skin. It sounds rough, right? It sounds a little harsh, but it's very true. Like if you are just going about your day thinking, I don't need to sleep well. I don't need to eat the right things. Like, I don't need to check my mental health. I'm just going to ignore all of my problems and I'll be fine. I'll be coasting and I'll just buy a new jacket. I will just buy this new makeup. I will get this new phone. I will get a new car. I will get a new girl, whatever it is, post it all on social media. But where's the substance? Where is the depth? Like, you just got a battle pass, but you have no shield.
Keeping the battle pass analogy, there's nothing wrong with buying the battle pass. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look cool. But if you put that as your highest of importance, that's when you're not going to really help with your HP. You're most likely going to deplete it, having to have the newest shiny thing all the time. For you, that might look like, well, in order for me to have the newest shiny thing at all the time, I have to put that on a credit card. Or I have to work extra hours and be away from my friends and family more. So it's a matter of like what you make priority is what you're going to kind of really hold on to when it comes to looking at your daily life. So practically for you, you may have ignored your health. And, I'll speak personally, for a long time, from like probably my 18 to like mid 20s, like I just never went to see a doctor, right? Like I never even went to get a checkup. And for me, that didn't result in anything too bad, but for others, that could be like hugely detrimental, not, taking the time to really check on you, whether that's physically, whether that's mentally. So yeah, I think this is a great analogy that like we can't put all our entire all into the battle pass. We need to be looking for these shields and power ups.
Because it's like the battle pass is the shiny new toy. It's cool, and it shows others that, oh my gosh, I can't believe they have this skin.
Until the other shiny new toy shows.
Until the next one, and it's never enough. You always have to buy the next.
Never.
Oh my god, no, we didn't. But like literally, like it's never enough because you're gonna buy that skin. Everyone's gonna be like, oh my gosh, Peter Griffin, and then the next one is
Ninja Turtles.
And it's like, oh, well, he's got Raphael. That's the new best thing. And Peter Griffin's out. Now you're a loser. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous.
So to wrap up, moving from our Fortnite analogy, we want to end with the question, what's your backstory? And this is an interesting thing because this was we were going to end the segment here right at Fortnite, but just maybe a half an hour ago, Jen was hit with like a premonition of a new thing she wanted to talk about. So let me let you, I want to let you explain how this all came about and where we're going to go from here.
Yeah. So if you're watching the video, if you're not, I'm going to explain. I'm wearing a Steve Harrington t-shirt. I love him, and it's from Stranger Things. If you haven't seen the show, I highly recommend. It's one of my favorites. So as I'm steaming this t-shirt to wear it, this is how an ADHD brain works. I'm just going to give you an insight into exactly what was happening. Joe may walk in and see me steaming. Oh, I was doing so much more than that. So I basically thought, Steve Harrington, right? And then my brain next thought, oh, wow, he had a good character arc. Like he changed from season 1 to season whatever, 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. And I'm like, wow, he really went through it, and he's just like a totally different and improved guy, and he's like a hero. And then my brain went, okay, Stranger Things. Okay, now I'm thinking about
the Demogorgon,
D&D, and the Demogorgon, right? And I'm thinking about D&D, and then I'm thinking about backstory, and then all of a sudden my brain had me write these thoughts down about basically, if you are familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, when you create your character sheet, the DM will usually say to you, create your backstory. That's his favorite part to do. Yeah. So you just come up with the past of your character, what happened to them, what are their motives, what are they searching for, do they have any character traits that the DM should know about, do they have any like enemies or whatever have you, right? So it gives the DM not only an idea of what to add to the game, but it also helps the player determine, how am I going to role play this? Am I going to role play as a giddy and happy little half elf ranger, or am I going to role play this at someone who has a really dark past and can't trust anybody, and I'm a pirate, and I'm just like feeling some type of way, and I don't treat people with respect, right? There's a reason for everything, and that's due to your backstory. So I put here, however, people in real life don't think that their backstory holds any weight. They are who they are, and it's for no reason at all. I feel like that's such a thing. Like, it's just interesting that in D&D, players are aware that backstory matters, and it affects you, and it helps you role play as this person, and there's reasoning behind it. So the key in real life to figuring out your backstory is basically understanding that who you are as a person has to do with your past, right? The things that you went through, everything has an effect on you as a person, and ignoring that and thinking that who you are has nothing to do with that is a disservice to you, because without realizing your backstory, you can't acknowledge your flaws and just sit with them and just be like, hey, you know what? I am this way with my family or my friends because of X, Y, and Z that happened in my backstory. And how am I today going to change my character arc, right? So I put here, the next step is realizing that there is a character arc, or as people in the book world would call a redemption arc. There's no way that you are going to know that you even like need a redemption arc if you have no idea where you're at and how your backstory is affecting you. I put here, but your character in real life can't have any growth without acknowledging the problem in the first place. You can't just sweep it under the rug. You can't just pretend that, you know, growing up, your parents' divorce didn't affect you. It did, right? Like, you can't pretend that, you know, growing up and not being allowed to show emotion because it was always shown as a weakness, right? You grew up that way, always told, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Like, these different things, those little things you think were subtle, but they're not.
You need to acknowledge all of the stuff that's happened prior. But going back to what we were saying about, like, you need a good strategy and you have to learn from your mistakes. Well, how can you learn from anything if you just think, oh, you know, all this stuff that happened prior doesn't matter? It does. So you need to either work that out with a therapist or work that out and see how you could use that. So it's like with Jen, it's, you know, you had this thing of ADHD in your past that you didn't even know about.
Yeah.
Until it was formally said, okay, this is what it was. And you had to acknowledge that. I think you said in a previous podcast, you almost had to mourn that for a little bit and then say, okay, well, now how can I move forward with this and figure out ways to make mods and figure out ways to turn things around? And I love the Steve Harrington comparison because it's true. Like, when you go back now and watch season 1, he's like such a jerk. And you're like, how could you ever be on this guy's side? And that's what I love about writers and television is like, you'll see a character and it's like, how could you possibly like this person? And yet somehow they make you like this person. There's a redemption and it proves that change can happen.
Yeah. There wasn't going to be a redemption arc without him realizing that he's a jerk and finding friends and relationships and going on adventures with them and just having a support system. He would have stayed the same. So just like, don't sit in that and sit comfortably. So I put here, I'm going to combine D&D and Fortnite. So if you don't basically set up your shield, then you are leaving yourself vulnerable to having people or things that happen to you alter your character sheet. Meaning, in D&D, everyone has to have a character sheet and you have to like choose an alignment. Are you going to be, you know, chaotic neutral, chaotic evil, chaotic good? Like, are you going to be fully good, fully bad? Are you going to be in the middle, right? By not setting yourself up and knowing who you are, having the confidence in your actions and healing from your past, healing from your backstory, then any bad thing that occurs to you, anyone that hurts you, any like inconvenience in life, it's going to change your character sheet from being chaotic neutral to chaotic evil because you're like, you know what, this is my villain era. I'm pissed at X, Y, and Z that happened to me, and now it's my turn to get them back. And I put, you have to be open to recognizing your flaws in order to figure out what areas need a modifier. So on your character sheet in D&D, there are different modifiers. There's charisma, there's wisdom, there's intelligence and dexterity, right? So us as neurodivergents, even if you're not neurodivergent, figuring out what areas you lack in, whether it be communication, whether it be emotions, anger, all these different things that you struggle with, you have to recognize them first and be like, okay, I need to add a modifier to that. I need to add more points to this because I'm struggling in this area. I need to boost that up. And the only way to do that is to acknowledge that you have that in the first place. Basically, in D&D, you have armor class, right? And the higher armor class, the better it is like in the battle. Same with shield, right? So you have to get your shield up. You have to get your armor class up because when the Demogorgon comes, you need to be ready and you will be suited up and less affected by it.
And that's not everything. So we just kind of scratched the surface on part 1, but I think we're going to end it here because we have some other parts that we want to talk about.
Can I tease?
You could tease one of them, sure.
Okay. I feel like the next one is definitely going to be your life as a video game multiplayer mode, your life with friendships and relationships and how it can better your life.
Yeah, so you're not going to want to miss it. Come back next week. But thank you as always for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this week's episode.
You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at ADHD and Me Podcast.
Our theme song is by @It'sEvbo.
New episodes every Wednesday.
We will see you there, or we will see you on another time.